Welcome to a story from the quiet suburbs, where tranquility often turns out to be nothing more than a carefully maintained illusion. This one begins with something simple, a neatly stacked wood pile in my backyard. It represented cozy nights, crackling fires, and steady warmth through the colder months. But before long, it became the center of an escalating neighborhood conflict. I'm the main character in this situation, and my challenge came in the form of a persistent neighbor I'll call HOA Karen. She had an unusual routine. Karen kept stealing my firewood, not just a stray log here or there, but a noticeable amount week after week. It was beyond irritating. With every missing log, my frustration intensified. This wasn't merely about firewood. It was about respect. It was about boundaries. At first, I tried to stay reasonable, assuming maybe there was some misunderstanding. But her behavior was deliberate. She acted as if my wood pile were a shared community supply rather than private property. Morning after morning, I'd step outside to find more logs missing, the stack shrinking steadily. Each disappearance left me feeling increasingly powerless and angry. Something had to give. This wasn't a small nuisance anymore. It was a repeated violation of my space, and my patience was wearing dangerously thin. Under the cover of darkness, Karen would make her move. She was quiet about it, almost methodical. Her intentions, however, were obvious. She'd scoop up several logs at a time, her motions quick and confident, as if she had every right to them. The entitlement radiated off her. By sunrise, the evidence was impossible to ignore. A noticeably reduced pile, a blunt reminder of her late-night visits. Finally, I decided to address the issue directly. I hoped a straightforward conversation might put an end to it. I knocked on her door, determined to remain composed. When Karen answered, her face twisted into immediate annoyance, as though my presence was an inconvenience. I calmly explained the situation, describing the missing firewood and my concerns. She listened, but her eyes revealed a dismissive attitude. She denied everything outright, with exaggerated disbelief and dramatic eye rolls. She brushed off my claims entirely. It became painfully clear that a polite resolution wasn't going to happen. I walked away feeling more exasperated than before. Civility had achieved nothing. Next, I installed a discreet security camera, determined to catch her in the act. It didn't take long. The footage showed her clearly, slipping into my yard and carrying away my firewood again, wearing a smug expression that made my blood boil. The proof was undeniable. Armed with the evidence, I approached the HOA, presenting the video and explaining the situation. But Karen, being Karen, knew how to manipulate the narrative. She claimed I was harassing her. The HOA, cautious and unwilling to take a firm stance, chose to do nothing. I left that meeting feeling unheard and utterly powerless. That's when it hit me. Traditional solutions weren't going to solve this. I needed a different tactic, something unexpected. Something she wouldn't see coming. My thoughts began to spin, searching for a strategy that was effective, but also, if I'm being honest, a bit mischievous. I retreated to my garage, my sanctuary filled with tools and half-formed ideas. The wheels of my mind turned steadily, shaping a plan born from pure frustration. Then inspiration struck. It felt almost poetic. The concept was straightforward, but clever. I would hollow out a few logs and fill them with something that would send a message. I carefully selected pieces that blended seamlessly with the rest of the pile. With precision and patience, I drilled into the center of each log, carving out a hollow chamber. The interior was smooth and ready. These logs would carry a surprise she would never anticipate. Then came the key ingredient, a small, measured amount of gunpowder, just enough to create a startling pop, but not enough to cause real harm. I sealed the ends carefully, making sure they appeared completely natural, indistinguishable from any other log in the stack. To be certain, I tested one in a safe, remote area. The result was perfect, a sharp but harmless puff, exactly what I needed. With the modified logs complete, I placed them strategically on top of the pile, right where she was most likely to grab them. I scanned the area to ensure no one was watching. Secrecy was essential. A slight mischievous spark flickered in my eyes. The stage was set. That night, anticipation hung thick in the air. I knew she would come. It was practically routine at this point. And sure enough, under the darkness, Karen approached with her usual confidence. She had no idea. She reached for the pile, unknowingly selecting prepared logs. My heart pounded with nervous excitement as she gathered them casually, the hollow pieces mixed in with the genuine ones. I watched quietly from my window, barely breathing. She carried the logs into her house. I imagined her fireplace, the flicker of flames ready to ignite. Would she light them? Would the plan work? The suspense felt endless. The quiet of the suburban night seemed charged with electricity. Then it happened. A muffled thud followed by a sharp crack. It wasn't deafening, but it was unmistakable. A contained pop, just as intended. A puff of smoke. A startled cry. Success. I pictured her expression. Shock colliding with confusion. A smile crept across my face. The disruption was brief, but memorable. Enough to make her jump. Enough to make her reconsider. It wasn't destructive. It was symbolic. A firm but harmless reminder. By morning, the neighborhood buzzed with quiet whispers. Word traveled fast. Karen stepped outside looking frazzled and embarrassed. Neighbors exchanged subtle, amused glances, silently acknowledging the poetic justice that had unfolded. Her nightly firewood theft came to an abrupt end. Lesson learned, albeit in a smoky fashion. Looking back, it was certainly a dramatic approach, but it restored peace to my backyard. Sometimes persistent problems demand creative solutions, and occasionally, a small bang speaks louder than endless arguments. Karen never touched my wood pile again. I returned to enjoying calm, warm evenings by my fire, a satisfying close to a frustrating chapter. In the end, sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or destructive. Sometimes, it's just a cleverly hollowed log placed at exactly the right time,